So the video you're about to see is us sharing our testimony upon instruction, and this is my wife mostly sharing the testimony, so you hear her voice mostly, but then I was recording videos along the way as well. It's our journey to the Adesemowo Twins, and it wasn't an easy ride really, it was a journey of faith, but we're sharing this testimony first of all to the glory of God, but also to encourage other people who may be in a similar journey. You may be at a different stage of that journey. To encourage you to say, if God has said it, He will do it. To encourage you to say that let's trust in God. Sometimes things may not happen the way we expect it to happen. We had very bumpy rides along the way, really. But then, at the end of the day, we have the joy of the twins to show for it. After 7 years, or was it, how many years? After 7 years, and don't let me spoil the...
no spoilers, no spoilers.
No spoilers, right? It's a long one. It's my wife sharing the testimony, but mostly. But then we had a lot of pictures and videos to also, share along the way. Okay.
So Bade is the photographic one. I think I'm a bit of the talky kind of person. So this is just us, like he said, just sharing our story. It's a very painful one sometimes, and other times there were times we laughed about it. But most importantly, we just hope that you're blessed by this and you stay strong. And it's always going to be victory one way or the other. Thank you.
In the end, everything is fine. If everything is not fine,
it's not the end.
Thank you.
I got married in 2015, and even the whole opportunity of getting married, it was also fraught with its own levels of difficulties, because just about when my husband was very ready to take it to the next level, my mom passed, and it was a very difficult time. That was in 2014, and then before my mom passed, my brother had passed in 2013. It felt like God had just left me or abandoned me, and we were also getting ready to do the first, because I'm Igbo, so the first of the marriage rites, and then next thing it was 12 midnight, and what I just know is my uncle rang me and said, my aunt had passed, and I'm like, am I is there something wrong with me and my family? What do we do? It was so weird that my dad rang me not too long afterwards to say that I don't think this is something you want to tell your in-laws, because obviously I'm not sure this is the kind of news you want to share, right now. Maybe this might just make some people a little scared of you. My dad is a minister of God, and he didn't think anything was wrong with us. So he just said, well, you don't want people to think that about you. So I think this is something we'll keep hush-hush for now, But I felt very pained about it. Fast forward from that, we got married, and, the journey began. We're very happy. And then all of a sudden, we weren't thinking too much about children at some point. But obviously, eventually, that comes with the whole territory. So year one passed, nothing much along that line. But before year one would go through, I know that I started having a lot of pains. I'd had those pains before we got married, and the pains were very real. So it turned out that I had a case of really bad fibroids, and the fibroids, I felt a little sad that just in the first few months of getting married, I was having a surgery. Luckily for us, we were introduced to a very good doctor who's a born-again Christian. And one of the things I remember him doing during the surgery was he turned on some Christian music throughout the surgery. At the time that was happening, when the surgery started, I think it was about 12 midnight, at about that same time back in my house, because my brother was alone in my house, one of the things I remember when we got out of hospital was he said that he had fallen asleep and he lit a candle, And as soon as he lit that candle, he slept off. My house would have caught fire. That's just the long and short of it. But God didn't allow that happen. Only the fridge and the fridge door got burnt. Let's say that God has been faithful, up to a point. Not like I was really very happy with God, to be honest. So again, we tried another attempt to, try to get pregnant. And then I was told that, there was also polycystic ovarian syndrome in the picture. At this point, I had to start looking up the name of this particular one. And I'm like, what again? It was fibroids, and now you say it's PCOS. And I'm actually very skinny. So if you did look at me, you definitely wouldn't think I had PCOS. I actually had to either get on tablets or I did a diet change. I remember one day I just walked into my living room and I heard the Holy Spirit clearly tell me that I want you to start, changing your food. So I started, and then, everything seemed to be going well. I did some of the things that I was asked to do, some procedures. At some point, we thought, okay, would get pregnant, but nothing happened. In 2017, we had to do a procedure. I don't think it's an IUI, but no, it's the one where they stimulate your ovaries actually. And so just to be able to help, with the getting pregnant. First time we tried it, it failed. Then in November 2017, it was successful. So we're very happy. And then I remember that my husband's best friend's wife was pregnant about the same time. So it was such a wonderful period that our pregnancies were maybe like 1 week apart maximum. So celebrations. And then my HOD in church was like, it's still early days yet. You shouldn't be, not like she said I shouldn't celebrate, but she just felt like I should have kept the news under wraps. But I didn't keep it under wraps, that's for sure. And so we just continued until 2019. My birthday is January 2nd. I know that January 1st, I felt a bit of discomfort. On my birthday, we had a party, so I didn't really notice anything. But on the 3rd of January, I started having some funny sensations and dreams and things like that. So it got so bad that I started seeing I saw a funeral in my dream. And that for me was a wake-up call. So I just rang my assistant and I told him to please come around and that we'll go to the hospital. I remember that day going to the hospital and my husband was like, we have a board meeting and all that. And I'm like, look, I can only the living attend board meetings. I'm going to the hospital. So we went into the hospital, and as soon as I got to the hospital, the first thing that happened was I was asked to go do a scan. No, I wasn't asked to do a scan. I was told that my pregnancy was so early, and it was about 8 weeks, and so they wouldn't start. It was lagoon. They weren't going to start anything on me until 12 weeks. I was a little disappointed. So I just thought, nobody seems to be taking me serious. Maybe I'm taking myself too seriously. I remember I was very nice young doctor, but as soon as I got up to go away, he just called me back. He said, you know what? You've been trying for 3 years. Yes, so that was 2019 or so, or about that. You've been trying for 3 years plus. Let's do it this way. We'll start you up, but we won't do any consulting with you just yet. You won't see the consultant yet. So we'll, register you on the system for antenatal and things like that. But you don't get to start until another 4 weeks. I was like, okay, that's fine. So I did everything. And then the last thing I was supposed to do was a scan. So I had done the pregnancy test. I remember Nigeria, when I did the pregnancy test, they were like, congratulations, ma. Oh yeah, for one income. For those of us who don't understand Yoruba, it means give us something. So I gave them something to celebrate it. And so I went upstairs to do the scan. And as soon as I was the last person, I remember. And there were so many pregnant women. They finished. It was just me last. And then I got into the room and I saw the doctor, and she was, she started doing her thing. And I just noticed her hands tremble. And I just looked at her. I was like, what is the matter? She was like, oh, can you see the screen? There was a big TV screen in front. I was like, yeah. She was like, can you see the fetus? I was like, yes, I can. Because I had very good biology. So I was like, wow. What had happened was that the fetus was right outside the uterus. and it was at the end of my tube. So wow. And she was like, I don't even know how you're alive. I don't know how, are you in pain? I was like, no, you can see I'm not in pain. She said, are you feeling any discomfort? I was like, no discomfort. She said, what brought you to the hospital? I said, you have to leave that with me. I can't even begin to explain to you scientifically what brought me to the hospital. So she said, well, the truth about it is that this is a very delicate situation and we have to wheel into the theater immediately. I said, that's not going to happen right now. I'm going to have to go home and I'll come back. So she said, no, if you leave this hospital, you're going to sign that you left on your own accord against medical advice. So I said, I'm happy to do so. So I rang my doctor who had done the procedure in the first place, the stimulation and all that. And he wasn't picking up because he was the one I wanted to attend to me. He wasn't picking up. So I quickly rang my husband as well to tell him the situation. He said, no, it's not possible. I said, well, it is what it is right now. And medically, I understand that it would take the grace of God. I don't know how it would happen anyways. Medically, I have to have surgery. Unless God does something between now and another few hours. I had to go and do another scan. Now, the first scan I had done had said something was wrong with my uterus as well. The fetus was so close to my uterus and then my uterus would be damaged and things like that. And I said that was not going to happen. For me at that point, I was tired. I felt like it was back to back. Too many things had been cropping up and I had let it be. So I said, God, this isn't it. I'm going to have my children. But the truth about it is that nobody is going to touch my uterus. You've come this far. This is it. The doctor finally responded and said I should go and do another scan at Union Diagnostics, I think. So it wasn't too far from Lagoon. So I walked in there and started. And the young man who was doing this wasn't as polished as the other one. As soon as he started the scan, he was like, Madam, you're not supposed to be here. Bless you, you won't die. I was like, why would you say that to me? He said, you don't have any business being here. The only thing you have business doing right now is being in the hospital and getting this thing out of you. So the guy really terrified me because he didn't even mince words with me at all. And then I just quickly got out of the place and I told my sisters to just pack my bags. And I told my husband to please meet me at the hospital. He wasn't having any of it, but I just wasn't going to, have that conversation with him. So he eventually came to the hospital and then saw the, severity of the situation. I mean, he was explained to and all that. So luckily this time around, because of the second scan I had, the scan had said that there was nothing wrong with my uterus. I don't know whether it's something changed or something didn't change. What I just know is that nothing could be wrong with my uterus. So we did the surgery. It was on the 9th of January 2019. We did that surgery and it was very successful by the grace of God. Interestingly, at that very point, what had happened was the doctor also made a decision. First, I had I had 2 tubes, obviously. Every woman comes with 2. As God gives. So the first one was damaged. There was nothing that could be done. Then on opening me up, they found out that the second one was filled with water and there was nothing anybody could do about it. So they had to clip that. And so I left that hospital with no tubes and then a reassessment later on. And I was told that if I was going to have kids, it would have to be by IVF. We're very crestfallen. And again, it felt like this is back to back, God. If it's not something one is dealing with, it's another thing. So that was 2019. And well, we decided that we would have to do what we wanted to do. So 2019, we attempted to, when I got better, we attempted the first one. It didn't work. It was unsuccessful. And then we attempted another one again. We basically did several attempts. They were unsuccessful. And then in 2020, we were successful with one. With the first one, that's number 4. It was a random call. Doctor just rang to say, can we try again? And we said, okay, we'll try. I'd had a dream about the doctor actually, that, he rang me. And so when he rang me 4 hours later when I woke up, I wasn't surprised. And when he told me what he told me, I felt, okay, this is what God wanted us to do. Because I definitely did see him in a dream and he was talking, but I couldn't hear what he was saying in my dream. And it was good. I would like to put a caveat here. In Nigeria, typically, when you want to do IVF, the usual thing doctors recommend, is to put more than one embryo back into you, just so that it increase your chances of the IVF process in the first place. So every time we've done a transfer, it's called a transfer. Every time we've done a transfer, we've transferred multiples. We've transferred sometimes 3. I know we've transferred 4. It's unheard of usually in the first world countries, but we've done 3, we've done 4 before. And so this, on the one for 2020, we did 3. I remember correctly. 3 very good embryos were transferred and 1 took. And so, we were ecstatic, as in completely ecstatic. It was wonderful. Things were going well and all that. And then it was 15 weeks of pregnancy. I know that in the 15th week, I went jogging, not jogging, like a brisk walk. I came back. I felt very uncomfortable. I had a headache. And then I kind of persisted, went to the hospital, came back, everything was fine. And then in the 16th week, going to the 17th week, the next thing I know was that we had, there was Covenant Christian Center was doing a 30-day prayer, like a prayer chain sort of. So we would pray at hours of the day. I remember very clearly that 5:30 in the morning was the morning prayers. I always woke up for it. So I would wake up at 5:30, would pray till 6 or 6:30-ish. I think it was like 1 hour thing. So the last day of that prayer was, I got up, very happy. And then before now, I had friends I just wanted to just mention that I had like a few friends. I know 3 people had come to me to say, one person had said, that she saw me mourning. And I was like, wow, that's terrible. It's a bad dream. Another person, my friend's mom, had come all the way from really far to pray with me. She said she had this really bad, premonitions and things like that about miscarriage and all that. She prayed. And then I have friends in the GEO's PA at MFM is a personal friend of mine. So he, for some reason too, he was bothering me to say that I needed to come take prayer points about miscarriages and things like that. So, but that's, those are things I just wanted to mention. So this going to the 17th week, we're just going to check for the sex of the baby, so that we can start to prepare. And then 5:30, I woke up. I started trying to do the prayers. And next thing I know was, I started feeling some discomfort. Anyways, I didn't know I'd gone into labor, to be honest. And next thing I know, my water literally broke. I didn't even know it was water breaking. I'd never been here before. I called my husband. I was like, I don't get what's going on. It felt like hot pee. And I was like, what is going on? I went to the bathroom. The only saving grace that I had right there and then is that I had something called the cervical stitch, which people call, I don't know what it's called, but a cerclage. So they tie the neck of the uterus so that your baby doesn't drop. I was told that I had a short cervix. An incompetent cervix is the clinical word for it. And so because of that, they had put in that stitch when I was 12 weeks. The only reason I didn't birth that child, literally, because I started contracting and all that on the staircase, was because of that stitch. Like I felt the baby. I felt his head, at that point. And so we rushed to the hospital. There was obviously nothing that could be done. It was an evacuation. I literally had to birth him. And when he came out, the first thing I asked was, what is he? Is he a boy or a girl? Because I know what God had told me. And he said it was a boy. I was like, okay, that's fine. Let's clean up this matter. So I got home, very sad, obviously, disoriented. And the next thing I know, I felt like now this is even worse. Next thing I know, I started lactating. And if anybody knows anything about lactating, without even having a way to express the milk, it is really painful. That's another thing I had to deal with for the next 4-5 days. It was really bad, so it was like pain on top of pain. But at this point, I'd come to the point where, I was just tired. I was tired of everything. I was tired of the attempt. I was just tired of not life, but I was just tired, literally. I was tired of hoping, of believing. Everybody said I had faith, I was strong, I would come back from one procedure and I'll be, I'll still be happy and all that. But I didn't find any place of happiness there. I didn't even know that my husband too broke down at some point, because it was just so painful for us. And then we were preparing for my younger sister's wedding to start with. So at my own sister's wedding, I was literally a guest. I would be sleeping, because obviously I was just trying to recover from it. So I remember one very particular incident. The day after the wedding, my husband and I had been making plans to go to the UK. We weren't quite sure if we wanted to relocate yet or we would take the opportunity. We didn't know how we would do it, but we had made those plans and the plans had come through. So one of the first things he said was, I think you should take a break after the wedding. Take a break, pack your bags, just go to the UK, stay with your aunt for a bit, and then come back in December. So this was October the 3rd. I will never forget, 2020, that my flight was supposed to be. And so a lot of people know in this group is Olatunde Osoyin. She's the sister to be, so she had come around and she was like, "Oh, Faith, I'll come see you." And I think I had mentioned that I was going to travel. I'm not sure if I even mentioned it to her. I think I did. And what I noticed was that as soon as I was going to the airport, I think it was a noon flight. Tunu walked into the house, so we laughed, and she said something to me. She said, "Faith, do you remember those my watches?" I was like, yeah. I know those your watches. She was like, they're doing hosting the present, so say you will join. I was like, you know what? I would like to actually, because I can see that I have some time on my hands. And she said, but today is the last day. I said, you know what? I told God in my mind, I said, if you want me to do hosting the presence, you have to make it work. Today is the last day. I don't know how I'm going to do all of this. I don't know how they'll allow me in. I haven't bought my books and all that. So she said, okay, that the consensus was that if I would be able to buy the books, I would be allowed to join the program. Anyway, long and short of it, I think I bought the books at Heathrow or something online with their internet. I don't know. I just managed to be able to get those books. And that's how I joined hosting the presence class. It was very intense. One of the things that I noticed was that obviously I had free time on my hands. It was like a break of some sort. It was just me in my auntie's house. They would go to work, so I had the weekdays to myself a lot, besides my work that I do. And so I think recuperation started, at that point. But during hosting the HCP classes, one of the things that I know that happened was that there were so many prophecies about me. If I can't count less than 5. At some point I hope like, oh my God, I hope people don't feel like, who is this Faith girl? Because it just felt like God had remembered me, or God was saying that he had remembered me. And so he just, so many people would say, oh, there's a Faith here. We're not supposed to talk about children, but, God says that he will bless you. We're not, because obviously there's no marriage, no children. I mean, we don't really talk about things like that too often, and unless you are really, really led by God and all that. So it made me aware, it made me know the heart of the Father towards me. And it was one thing that was missing for a long time. So for me, it was like I got recentered into his plans, or I now understood that I was literally at the center of his plans, and that nothing could happen without his permission. So that's 2020. I've made very great friends at HCP. And then in 2021, things were going well. I mean, we were now in the UK. We had decided to settle in the UK. So by the way, I came to the UK with 2 pairs of shoes and I think 3 pieces of clothing or something. And obviously I didn't go back in December. I didn't go back in January of 2021 either. Literally, I haven't been back for a bit now. So, it just kept on going. There was HCP, there was Sons of Prophet. I just immersed myself, not because I was trying to run away from anything, or because it was more of me running towards him. I made great friends. Work started becoming more intense, and then one of the first big things happened. In August, I won a competition, a major competition. I didn't win completely, but I was one of the 4 finalists, and it was such a big deal. I would move quickly to September. Early morning, I was downstairs. I remember him. He started playing the guitar, I think, yeah. And he just said, "Oh, there's someone here." I was like, "Oh my God, this is someone again." There's someone here, but he didn't mention my name. He just said, "There's a lady here." And as he was speaking, before he finished speaking, I knew, I heard the Holy Spirit say, "That's you. You just wait for the message." And he said, "God has answered your prayers for a child. I can tell you for free. God has answered your prayers." And he just kept on playing, It was just very, very simple, nothing too much, and that was in September. Little did anybody know that we were going to try another time in the UK for the IVF procedure. Coincidentally, the funding for that procedure too, we didn't even know where it was going to come from. But the amount asked by the clinic, literally that exact amount came in at once. That's one of the first things that happened. The money came in at once, together, complete. So we're like, okay, that seems to be like a message. So we went ahead. And then Tundu called me 3 days later also, about that same week. Binye had said that, to say that Faith, I had cramps. So I was like, "Oh, babes, I have cramps." She was like, "This is the last period you're going to have in a while." I was like, Tundu, what's up? She said, no, I'm very serious. This is the last period you're going to have in a while. I was like, okay, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. So we started. First testimony is that because of COVID, we're just coming out of COVID, especially the UK being very serious about it. We're not allowed to go to the clinic as we would have gone to the clinic for the IVF procedure. By now, I become a connoisseur. And I've become, the expert at IVF. I was almost sure that I could do the IVF procedure for other people. Well, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that's how, and I'm a very active patient, really. So I know quite a bit about the whole process and things like that. Plus all my knowledge, I don't know how this happened. What I do know is that they gave me there's a protocol sheet. And in the protocol sheet, you have the dosages and all that. I had told the doctors before then that it will start me off on this IVF cycle. They needed to give me a certain dosage because those are the last 2 dosages that we had used in Nigeria. And they said, okay. Apparently, they were supposed to do, let me use this for, just to make it simple, let's say 300 grams of something. But apparently they had given me 2 big boxes of that particular drug. One box had 1,500 grams and the other one had 600 grams. In the protocol sheet, I saw 1,200 and I saw the next box 600. I didn't see at the very bottom of the protocol sheet that there was 150 grams. And then for the one with 600, there was also 150 grams. So the first day of my cycle of the treatment, I took the medication out of the fridge. In Nigeria, when I wanted to use that medication, I would take 1 bottle and then water and saline water, and I would mix it and I would draw it out and I would inject in my tummy. So I thought that was what was going to happen. I didn't know that it was different. I didn't know that you would mix everything together and then you start to draw out the amount that was prescribed. So the one for 1,005, I was supposed to mix it and then I was supposed to draw only 150, meaning that it would last 10 days. It was a long protocol. So first day, I didn't know. I just mixed everything together and I drew it out and I injected all 1,500 IU of that medicine. So what that means is that I took 10 times the dose that I was supposed to take day 1. I almost fainted. I told my husband, I was like, Bade, I don't feel too good, or my legs are shaking, maybe because I was hungry and all that. He said, okay, sit down and everything. But I just had this discomfort that something was wrong. I didn't know what it was. I didn't think to look at the protocol sheet. I just called the hospital. Nobody was picking up. I sent an email. Nobody responded. And this medicine has to be taken at a particular time of the day, early in the morning. So the next morning, the same thing happened. The next one, don't forget, the next box is 600. So I was like, am I going to take this thing like this? Because if I take the first box on day 1 and the second box on day 2, I am very sure that I'm supposed to take throughout at least 9-10 days. So where are the rest of the medicine? So that's what I kept thinking about. Where's the rest of this medicine to start with? So I had now started calling and calling. Nobody was responding. It was 10 a.m. I was supposed to take drugs at 7 o'clock. I just got tired, drew out the entire 600 and I put it back in. As soon as I injected it, couldn't have been made than 7-10 minutes later, they rang me from the clinic to say, are you okay? Are you feeling well? I think you need to go to the ER. I'm like, what happened? They said that I'd taken an overdose. In fact, I had just taken a second overdose. And then they asked me if anything was wrong with me. I said, no, I just felt a little lightheaded and I was fine. So they were scared. They said, okay, I should lie down, I should get something they recommended for me to take, and I was fine, and that we should come into the hospital. So we went to the hospital, and as soon as we got to the clinic, the first thing they said was that you are infamous. This is an infamous face. So I was like, well, what did I do wrong? Of course, by then they had explained that I had done something very wrong. I had taken all the medicine I was supposed to take throughout the course. I had taken it in 2 days. And it's no wonder that, I'm not even admitted in the hospital. And this time around, they wanted to check my ovaries. So they checked the ovaries. I was now scared. I felt like God had just, I don't know. I just felt like, God, wow, what is this? And, I told God, I said, at this point now, there's no longer this sense of despair that I used to feel. All I just want from you is, if you want this procedure to go on, it's your will. If you don't want it to go on, it's fine. I'm not going to push anything, but I'm just going to just thank you. So, with fear in my heart and all that, and, I won't say fear, but my heart beating really fast, did the scan. And coincidentally, they said, well, my ovaries had been stimulated, but they were not overstimulated, because that's another problem that could have happened. I could have had something called OHSS, which is ovarian hyperstimulation. I didn't have it, so they just looked at me weird, like, this is weird, we don't understand what's happened to you, but be that as it may, we can continue the procedure. So we continued the procedure. The day we were going to collect the eggs, I felt like a fish with eggs, like overfilled with eggs, literally, because my stomach was distended and painful a little bit. The miracle is that, we had very good embryos. Everything went so well. It went so well that the hospital had to say, the clinic had to say, the nurses said that this is so successful that we think we will recommend this procedure to the dosage to other people. Obviously, it's not possible, but it just turned out for my good. So that's it. Transfer day came. My husband, as usual, he's very, very good with recording stuff. So he was recording, and I wasn't very interested in that. I just thought, okay, let's just do the needful here. And so when we were ready to transfer, they said, okay, in the UK, you can't transfer more than 2 embryos. So, and they always recommend transfer only 1. So they kept on trying to tell us to transfer one. And I said, no, we're coming from Nigeria where we transfer 4 and 3. We'll come here now and do 1 on top of everything. So I said, no, please just transfer 2 for us. We're fine with that. Any extra medicines that we needed, we also indicated interest and they gave to us. Yeah, about 4 weeks, I think you test, you do the pregnancy test. So I remember, I think the day before I was supposed to do the pregnancy test, and the night of the pregnancy test, I woke up at 3 a.m. And I told Bade is my husband, by the way. I told him that, look, I'm going to have to do this test, because normally it's supposed to be your first pee of the day and things like that. But I can't wait till 6 a.m. to do the first pee, when at 3 a.m. I'm really pressed. So I went to the bathroom and I peed on a stick, and I just looked at the stick and I saw only 1 line. So for positive, you have to have 2 lines. So I saw just 1 line, and I was just like, oh well. Thanks be to God. I was very calm. He just asked, what's the result? I said, we'll try again, honey. And then I took the stick and I put it in the bin. And then he walked out of the bedroom, walked to the bathroom to me. He said, no, God said he's done it. No. Go back and get that stick. I was like, oh, Bade, please. It's 3 a.m. I just want to sleep. And he said, no, pick up that stick. Pick up the stick. I said, okay. I went back to the bin, picked up the stick. Lo and behold, there's a faint second line. But it was really faint. And I said, there's a second line, but it's faint. And he said, I told you God has done this thing. To be honest, at this point here, I'm a born again Christian, spirit filled, love Jesus, everything. I'm hosting him and all that. But at this point, I was tired. I was exhausted. I didn't want to have my hopes up. And I didn't think God would not give me children. So I just thought, if He doesn't give me children today, He will give me children tomorrow. They can't be bothered. I'd like to have children before I turn 40. I'm not yet 40. But I thank the Lord, so I had to send the result to the hospital. And then the next day I woke up and I saw congratulations, go. I beg all of you should leave me, because it was such a faint line. I just felt maybe it was my imagination, to be honest. And so I tested again, obviously. They're supposed to test 1 week later again. So I tested again. But before I tested again, at this point I knew something was happening. Because I wasn't feeling well. I was feeling nauseous. I was getting irritated. I was like, something's wrong with me here. Maybe this thing is real. So this is me now that my name is Faith, and I'm asking myself if this thing is real. At some point I just realized it really is by the mercies of God that we are not consumed, because I am very sure I displease God if I don't have faith. He says that you can only please God by faith. But I just thought, man, is this something I want to dream of? And then I tested again. This line was so strong. The lines were strong, as in it was very, very positive. I used the cheapest stick possible. In fact, I didn't use any fancy stick. The ones they sell, they even give you for free here in the UK. I used all the cheap ones. It was very strong. I took pictures of them. I was like, gosh. And then now the battle now starts. I know you say, why? How would I say that the battle starts? Don't forget, I had lost a pregnancy not too long ago at 17 weeks. Obviously, I'm just about maybe 5 weeks or so. So we had to go to the hospital at some point to go and, there has to be like a final scan. I started feeling very sick very early. So we went to the clinic, and then we got there. My husband, again, like I said, is always recording. So he was recording, and then they just started the scan. And next thing I saw, the lady was like, "Oh my God, I see 2 sacs." I'm like, "What to do?" I'm like, I'm sorry I'm sounding like this. I'm not supposed to sound like this, but it's the truth. I'm just saying how I felt, and I'm not trying to paint myself in a good light at all. I'm just saying it clearly how it happened. I had to look very clearly. I said, 2 sacs. Yeah, she said, yeah, 2 sacs. They're going to be 2 very good distinct sacs. So that's the good kind of twin pregnancy. So I said, wow. So we left the clinic, and of course my husband was recording. He was like, "Hello babies." It's like, there are 2 of you. Can't wait to meet you. In fact, it was as if my tension doubled. If I was tense before, it was doubled. So this time around now, I needed to trust God to keep my 2. I was at the point where I was trusting God that, okay, we're pregnant and nothing would happen to the pregnancy. That's 1. Now, I'm now thinking, okay, we're pregnant, we're expecting 2, and nothing will go wrong. It was scary. So we were moved to the hospital proper this time around, from the clinic now to the hospital. And the recommendation that had been put at the hospital before we even got pregnant was that I would need to have that stitch again. I don't know if you remember the stitch I said earlier about it's called the cerclage or cervical stitch, that I would need to have it at 12 weeks. By this time, I was already getting to 11 weeks. So we had to go into the hospital for a pre-assessment. And an Indian doctor, elderly man, walked out, and he's like in the intense, he's in the like special pregnancy kind of clinic, twin pregnancy and special pregnancy clinic. So he came out and he said, "Look, this is the recommendation for this stitch. It's here." My husband was with me. "But can I just say something to you? I'm from India. You are from Africa. One of the things we've seen is that Africans and Indians do mostly the same kind of things when it comes to pregnancy. They usually have a cervical stitch. There's no evidence that the cervical stitch will help you. In fact, there's evidence that the cervical stitch might become a problem. And how can that become a problem? You can have an infection, and that might just even lead to a miscarriage." So, big decision. Should I have a cervical stitch or not? Why did I have a cervical stitch in the first place? My cervix was shortened in the last one. So he told me something. He said, you know what? I can do something for you. I can see you every other week. And then we'll be testing you to check if your cervix shortens. My promise is that if your cervix is shortened, we'll do the stitch immediately. So, but I should think about it. Ultimately, it was my decision. And then my husband says, it's your decision. Anything you want to do, you can do. I said, wow, so this decision is on me. So I just prayed about it, and I just had this. I don't know if I thought about it well. I don't know how I processed it. But I guess my thinking was, I did a cervical stitch the first time. I lost the pregnancy. Why don't I people not do this one and then trust God and see how it goes? I just believe. If we've come this far and it wasn't anything to do with me, so I don't see me interfering being good for me. That's how I saw it. So I just said, I'm not going to interfere with this process. We'll take each day as it comes. The devil had been sending thought messages to me, and that's really for me. That's where my own battle is in my mind, like, no, this is not going to work out for you, things like that. This is 12 weeks, you see. So we started problems again. I didn't really, anytime he said anything, because I had two scriptures. One of the scriptures was that God enabled Sarah to conceive, and I was going to be the joyful mother of children. Those were the two scriptures. So every time, those thoughts came, the scripture was Sarah was enabled to conceive, and I, Faith, would be the joyful mother of children. That was it. So, that's all I just, kept on saying. Sometimes I would be unhappy. Sometimes I would be sad. Sometimes I'll just be terrified. And then I'll just play music, pray about it. Now, another specific instruction had also come. It wasn't so much as words. It was like a picture. And the picture I saw Elizabeth and Zachariah. And I saw Zachariah going into the temple. And I saw him being dumb. I don't know why it was playing out. And then I saw Elizabeth, and I saw clearly says that Mary didn't see Elizabeth until she was almost 5 or 6 months gone. And it was clear there. Can you do this? I'm like, yeah, I can do it. So this is me. I'm a very talkative person. I like my friends to know what's happening, my family, everything. So I was going to keep this pregnancy, that is twin pregnancy, a secret. So I told my husband, I said, I want to keep this. And he said, you can't do it. He said, you can't do it. I'm like, I will do it. So this one is very specific. I heard it, so I will do it. He said, I don't think you can do it, but if you want to do it, I'm with you. Like I said, this is your call. So I started. I couldn't say anything about it. The times of that I was terrified, I couldn't talk about them. If I had any issues, it would be with my husband. I would discuss it, and Jesus Christ. I think it's a very good lesson for me. It was one of the deepest lessons of my life, that I wasn't speaking to anybody but Jesus or my husband. And Dr. Google too was there, so I could go to Google for certain things. So we started this whole cervical stitch journey. No cervical stitch. Every 2 weeks we started testing, and while we were testing, my cervix did not shorten. Week 2, week 4. We got to 16 weeks. My cervix has still not shortened. Okay. We got to 18 weeks. My cervix has not shortened, but I was very sick. I had the worst nausea possible. I had reflux, I had nausea, but that was it. Nothing else, just reflux, nausea, and constipation. Anything to do with digestion, really. So that's what we continued with, every time. So they gave us medicines to just help it. Then the next thing they said was I had gestational diabetes. Again, the first recommendation was that I should do a diet change. So put me on a diet, and then we continued at it. And I just made up my mind I wasn't going to take any insulin injections or any tablets. I was just going to stay with the diet. So stayed on the diet. So me, who was pregnant, one of the ways I could get away with it when I did video calls with family was that I was skinny, very, very skinny. In fact, I was not losing weight, but I was skinny. I stayed skinny and all that. So we continued until we were 20 weeks. 20 weeks scan anomaly. The devil had come again. Things will be wrong with you. Things will happen to you. And I said, you didn't give me children. Oga Fimile. This is literally, I said it one day out loud. I said, guy, you didn't give me children. You don't have anything to give anybody. This was literally me speaking out loud. I said, guy, you didn't give me children. You don't have anything to give me. I don't know why you keep bothering me and thinking that the same tricks will work with me. It's not going to work. You didn't give me these children. The God that gave me these children, because I did say the man who gave me these children, which is God for me, is there. You go and have a conversation with him. If he allows anything, that's for you. But me here, I'm fine. Just let me be. And I think that's the last time, I got that level of intense, barrage of just negativity coming from him, because I was actually just tired. So we went to the hospital, and like I said, we're going every other week, so 18 weeks we were there, and the doctor was just like, this cervix has not shortened though, we continue. So we continued, and he said, I see XX and I think I see XY, so that means a boy and a girl, but it's still early days yet, so we'll check by a 20 weeks anomaly scan. So my husband and I smiled at each other. So we had bets, 2 boys, 2 girls, 1 boy, 1 girl. Just fun. It was even fun to start with. So anomaly scan came, everything was fine, and truly, lo and behold, they said it was XX and XY. I said, okay, we'll see. And so we continued 22, 24. By 26 weeks, the doctor said, your cervix has not shortened though. If you have these children now, we'll still be fine. And now the next step, I'm just saying this, I just wanted to be able to say the way it really happened for me. The next stage of negativity from the enemy came was that I started seeing YouTube videos. Obviously, I was watching a lot of YouTube videos, and a lot of twin pregnancies end up being in NICU, that's in neonatal intensive care unit. They come very early and stuff like that. I said, well, see, I don't want to do NICU with anybody. I don't want one baby to be. I don't want any of these things. But God just take absolute control. So we continued, and then one day we were given a date for the surgery. By 30 weeks, they started considering the fact that I may not be able to have him naturally, and then it will be a cesarean section. At this point, one of the first decisions we made was that closer to the time, it's like we need to tell the parents, because I don't know how I can tell my father that I'm going to have a C-section, and he will ask me, what am I seeing section? Like, why is C-section in the first place? Because he doesn't even know anything about the pregnancy. Don't forget, we hadn't told anybody. So we had to start making a decision to at least tell a few people. By then I'd had the release, so we told the parents. I have my dad, my husband has his mom, so we told them just about a few weeks to delivery. And my mother-in-law was like, you guys are naughty, because how could you even keep this from us? So we told her that the babies would come at some, maybe in June. My due date is in June. Everyone was supposed to be in June. In fact, my due date was yesterday. By the grace of God, my due date was 7th of June. Not yesterday, it was the 7th of June. So we told her it was going to be June, which it really should have been June. And then we told my dad as well, and then siblings. That's it. We kept it at that. And everybody was rejoicing and all that. Well, we didn't tell anybody that there was XX and there was XY. We didn't say anything about that to anyone. So it just went on, and then next thing, I still kept on being sick. Cervical stitch never put in place. Guess what? The next thing that happened was, at the last time that we did the scan, doctor said, you see, it's so weird. Your cervix is so long. Your cervix is long, like normal long. Then your cervix is now even curved again. And so where normal people have like 35s, maybe I don't know if it's not cm for sure, then, but whatever the unit is, let's just use 35. Where normal people have 35, you have 42, because it's even curved. We're not supposed to measure the curved bit, but if you put in the curved bit, you have over you have excess cervix. So where I was told I had an incompetent cervix, I had a very, very competent cervix. And by the grace of God, on the 20th of May, I was 37 weeks and 4 days. And we went into the hospital, 8:30, about 7 in the morning. I had thrown up, so I was very thirsty, begging for water. Nobody wanted to answer me. By 8:30, signed the consent form, called my mom, called my dad, called his mom, told them we're in the hospital. They were shocked. Like, what are you doing in the hospital? We said, we're in the hospital now, and it's time for these children it's time for the birth. So they were a bit worried. I told the siblings to just put us in prayers. Wheeled into the theater, I think about past 9. About past 9 we wheeled into the theater. Everybody was ready. At 9:54, twin A came out, and that was the baby girl. At 9:56, twin B came out, and it was baby boy. And the only thing I heard was, I lost a bit of blood. Stitched back together and wheeled out. Did a video call with the family, and they said, Kilebi. For those of us who don't understand Yoruba, what did you have? Because we hadn't told them the gender. We told them we were going to do a gender reveal. Kilebi and Annie, Mejilabio. We had 2. My mother-in-law said, Nikunwo, which is, in what stomach did you, as in, where did you put 2 children in the first place? Is it the stomach that you showed me? I said, yes, ma. She said, no, it can't be real. You can't be that. No, use these children. That's what she says to us. Use these children. I don't understand. So what did you have? I said, 1 boy, 1 girl. She said, Faith. Dadao. I'll interpret. She said, Faith, you done well. You made me the grandmother of twins. Thank you. You know, those words, I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but basically that's what she was trying to say to me, that, you know, I made her the grandmother of twins, and I haven't forgotten those words. My dad was just crying, and of course everybody was crying, and we just thought, and it's still a surreal moment. They are 3 weeks old now, and I don't know what to say, to be honest. They're very healthy. They don't give us too much trouble, and so we beat all the odds. I didn't have them premature. We didn't spend 1 minute in NICU. We were threatened that if I did not give them formula, they would take us to NICU. So we gave them formula very sharply. But nothing. I'm not saying anybody that goes to NICU is bad or anything. Please, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that that's my own story. That, you know, it was twin birth. It was 37 plus 4 days to be precise. And everybody's doing fine. Mommy's doing fine. Babies are doing fine. Daddy's doing fine. And for this, I give God all the glory. So that's it. I know that in January, Latundu had called me again to say, Faith, now, you are pregnant. I said, yeah, by the grace of God, it is done. Because I couldn't say yes, I couldn't say no. I said, by the grace of God, it is done. She said, but I saw you did a test, you gave a testimony about your baby, in front of the whole of KC. And I said, I thank the Lord, though. So anytime she said baby, I would say babies, because, you know, that was still something on my mind again, that I'm not dropping anybody. These ones, we're all coming together. We're all coming out complete. There will be nothing missing, nothing broken. For me, I had to add that one. I don't know if this was the scripture God gave me, but I said this one is my own personal covenant. Nothing missing, nothing broken. Nobody's dropping, nobody's going anywhere.
That's what. So part of the story for me is, I wish my dad was alive to see the twins, because discussion we'd had a couple of times, really. I was believing God for twins, but one of the discussions we had a number of times is how they don't have twins in the Adesemowo family, right? And how, we're a royal family, and there's a lot of story to it. There's a lot of story to it. But then I'd written when my dad passed in 2019 that, I wish he saw the twins, right? And as at then, we were not yet even pregnant. We had not even started the first procedure, not to talk of anything else, so it was still far away. journey as at that time. I did wish that I did see them, but I know somewhere, in heaven, where he is right now, he will be smiling now. I'm also proud of the grandchildren that has come through one of his sons.
And I'm pretty sure I'm the one who was the most surprised, because in as much as he said he would want twins, I honestly didn't think I would believe for twins at any point. So I just felt it was wishful thinking.
Glory to God.
Finally good to see you guys. You know, Mom is so happy to see you.
They have decided that Daddy is not going for squash today. Are you looking at the picture? Say, are you looking at it? Yeah. Hi everyone. So here are the twins now. They are 9 months and it's been a fantastic journey with our Explorer Siri and our Observer and music lover Dire, right? And we're still getting to know them. We're still getting to understand how to train them, teach them, mentor them, coach them. But yeah, just to say God has been faithful. Baby,
Yes,
you say something?
Yes, he has. It's so good to be here today. It feels like a dream come true. And I think the scripture for me here is that when the Lord turned the captivity of Zion, we were like dead in a dream. So it does feel like a dream to us right now.
Thank you.